Alright, this is my 1/43rd scale F1 collection. These are the garages that I built. These are from Racetrack Scenics. These are their Rheims, I believe that's how you pronounce it. The Rheims collection from the France track. It's a copy of their garages, and I painted them up and then labeled the garage stalls with the cars and the numbers in white with the black numbers and letters, as you see. And then the bottom, the sponsor decals are sticker paper, and I copied the logos off of the internet. Let you see them. You really see the detail in this. That is all laser etched. These are wood kits made from MDF. Really nice. They were easy to put together. I built these. Each one took approximately an hour to build, not including the staircases, which mount back here and come off the back. They were a little bit more time involved. Those I don't have painted yet. As far as the paints go, I used Rust-Oleum spray, and it was the paint and primer combination, and it worked out great, I think. These things really turned out nice. The coverage was good. You can see the detail in the back. You got the decking up top, the railings, and then back here they have the individual doors. You can pose those doors open or closed if you want. I close them because this will be sitting flat up against the cabinet back, so it gets it a little bit closer, uses a little less floor space. But you could make these any way that you wished. If you wanted them open, if you wanted one or two open, you could do whatever you want. There's several different options for the end pieces here. This is the very end where it's got the open grating, as you can see. But yeah, you can make a really nice diorama for your racetrack from these. These are actually 1/32nd scale, and even though I'm using them for the 1/43rd scale diecast. Reasoning being is that the bays are 4 inches long, and so are the cars. So when the cars are in front of the bay, it actually looks like it fits. But yeah. So, and anybody building dioramas, if you want a tip, this is something you can use or don't use, it's up to you. But this material here that I'm using for asphalt is grip tape, similar to what you would find on a skateboard top or anti-skid on steps. It's peel back adhesive, so you could stick it down. I just have these laying here because I'll move them and use them for other things eventually. But yeah, you can really makes a realistic looking asphalt surface. You can see there, it looks like asphalt, and with the cars sitting on it, it looks like asphalt as well. I mean, you really get on it. It's the closest thing that I found to simulate a real asphalt surface. There's different things you can use, but this is the best thing I found so far. Like I said, anybody, they can do what they like. Now, I have 2 more of these buildings, and I'm going to stop the video here, put it on pause, and I will then set up the other ones, and I'll show you those as well. Same buildings, same color schemes, same basic idea. It's just that I'll show you the other cars laid out with their garage bays. Okay, and this is the other set. So there's a total of 16 garage bays, which would have been the 16 teams that mainly comprised the 1975 Formula One grid. The cars you see here, left to right, this is Surtees. They were sponsored by Matchbox Cars. Then you have Williams. It was one of the very early Frank Williams teams. In fact, this was before the current iteration of Williams. This iteration, he eventually merged with Walter Wolf. And then Walter Wolf pretty much took over the team. And Frank started his next version of Williams race cars. This next car here, this is a Hill. Graham Hill had started his own race team a few years prior. This was their first and sadly only bespoke built car. They had run customer cars before. One year they ran Shadows, and then they ran Lola the first couple of races of the season until their own GH1, pictured here, was ready. Then the next up was the Hesketh of James Hunt, and they ran some customer cars, but the main team was just the one car, the 24. The next one up, this was the Viceroy-sponsored Vels Parnelli of Mario Andretti. Parnelli Jones was the part owner of this car. They ran the last 2 races of 1974, ran the full 75 season, and then ran only the first 3 races of 76 before they pulled out and shut down the team. The next one up, this is the very first purpose-built Penske open wheeler. This is the PC1. Mark Donahue drove this car, and they weren't having much success with it, so he bought a customer March. They drove it for a couple of races, and that was the car that Mark had the accident with at Austria, and subsequently died from injuries he sustained from that crash. A couple of days later in the hospital, he had a brain bleed that they didn't catch, and unfortunately he passed. The season was finished out by John Watson, who had been driving the Surtees. And then the next car up, this is the Copper Sucar Fittipaldi. It was owned by Emerson Fittipaldi and his brother Wilson, who drove the car the very first season without a lot of success. The following year, Emerson left McLaren and went and drove for the family team, and the car never really did have a whole lot of success, even with his talent. And then this last car in line here is an Ensign. They ran a couple different versions of cars that season. I have the other ones of this as well. They were sponsored by an alarm system company. Copper Sucar was a big sugar conglomerate in Brazil. The Penske was sponsored by First National City Travelers checks, soon to become Citibank as we know it today. Viceroy cigarettes. The Hesketh had no sponsorship. Lord Hesketh that owned the team, liked a clean car. The Hills cars were sponsored by Embassy Cigarettes. The Williams was sponsored by Fina and Ambrosium. I'm not sure exactly what Ambrosium was, but they sponsored the cars as well. They were also sponsored by Personnel. Not exactly sure what that company did. And then, of course, Matchbox cars, which any kid from the day would have had Matchbox cars along with his Hot Wheels. And maybe even some of his Johnny Lightnings. But anyway, these are what I did with these hair pit boxes. They got their sponsorships at the bottom, as I did with the other ones. And then the team and the car numbers up the top. As you see, a lot of these cars were single car teams. The Heskeths, they ran 3 different cars. There was the 25 and the 26 along with the 24. They were customer cars run by different teams that came in and ran 1 or 2 races here and there using a Hesketh chassis. They were not Hesketh per se customer teams or factory team as it would be. Ensign ran several different numbers. They ran a 19, a 31, a 32, a 33, depending on the different races. The cars back then, this was the first year that they really had set numbers. Previously in F1, I'm not exactly sure why, but the numbers of the cars would change from race to race. Made no sense to me. I picked the 1975 season to collect because they were the high air box cars, which I really, really liked. I loved that big air scoop on the top of these cars. I thought they looked really cool. And the thing you'll notice is something that's missing in race car design today is look how different every one of these cars is from each other. I mean, some have similar styling. You know, you can see a similarity between the Parnelli and the Penske in the overall design. But some of these cars just had some really radical design elements. Nothing would be even more radical than the car that Terrell would bring out mid-76 with 6 wheels that just blew everybody's socks off. But the car wasn't that successful, but it, as far as a design standpoint and attention grabbing, it definitely took up a lot of headspace. You know, it was everywhere. It's still probably one of the most recognized and talked about race cars ever built, even though it had only ever won, I believe, 1 race in its entire racing career. But that'll do it for this video, but I wanted to show these off. I really, really like these buildings. Like I said, they were easy to put together. Each one took about an hour or so, that including sanding, the little bit of sanding that needed to be done where I broke the pieces off the sprue. These come on a laser cut sheet of MDF, and there's tiny little bits that hold them to the main part of the plank, I guess you would call it, or sheet. And those you need to file off if you really want a nice looking job, which doesn't take a lot of time. They are very, very small, and they don't take a lot of time to sand down. This, prep wise and paint wise, I think grand total to build the 4 garage sections, assembly, sanding, gluing, paint, and final assembly, decaling, maybe I might have 8 to 10 hours in all 4 of them total, which I don't think was too bad, all things considered. And they turned out really, really well. So if you're looking into buildings for your racetrack, or you're doing diorama designs for static display cars like I have here, you can't go wrong with these. I mean, these kits are really nice. They're not super expensive. There's another company based out of Britain, Magnetic Racing. They have some really nice buildings. I have some of theirs as well. I haven't built any of them yet. I do plan on getting to those at some point. And they have, like, the same things that Racetrack Scenics does. They build pit buildings, they build grandstands, they build towers, gantries, you name it. Anything that you can go for a racetrack design, buildings-wise, you can find between the two of them. And there's other companies out there that have some stuff as well. I'm not as familiar with theirs as I are with these two companies. That's why I can recommend them. But yeah, take a look if you're interested in this kind of stuff, and see if it's something that you're interested in for your track, or your like I said, your dioramas. I don't think you can go wrong. It's, like I said, there's a lot of detail for what you're paying. It's not a whole lot of money, relatively speaking. Some people might think it's a ton of money. For me, I didn't think it was that bad for what you're getting. Speaking of Magnetic Racing, they actually have a 1/32 scale Ferris wheel that stands about 2 feet tall, has 14 gondolas on it, and you can motorize it. There is a kit to motorize it if you care to, or you can just leave it as static display. I thought that was really wild. That's not probably something that I would tackle. I really don't have the space for it. But anybody that would have a big layout, that would look pretty cool. And you can probably check on YouTube. There's probably some guys that have built them. Just do a search for Magnetic Racing Ferris wheel and see what pops up. There's probably something out there somebody's done. And just you can look up Magnetic Racing or Racetrack Scenics on YouTube as well, and you can check out the different buildings. Boone's Slot Car Garage, he does a lot of scratch built buildings, but he's also done some of their buildings. Dave Kennedy's page, he's done some of their buildings. Both Travis's, that slot car guy, his page, he's done some of these buildings. So, and there's a bunch of different guys out there. There's too many to name, but they really do some nice work. A lot better than what I do. This is like I said, this is quick and dirty. I just wanted to get these together so I could do photography with them and set it up where I could check out and see what this stuff will look like, and then show it off so other people could see if it's something that they'd be interested in them for their own layouts. All right, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Have a good one. I hope this helps. And let me know in the comments what you think. And I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one.